Howdy folks. For once I'm not actually outside in the garden. It is raining today, so I'm taking advantage of the rain to get some apples ready to go into a new addition at our house. We recently bought a home freeze dryer unit. It is a Harvest Right unit, and as you can see, my next batch that I'm doing is going to be a bunch of apples. This little device here is about 20 bucks. They're absolutely terrific if you freeze dry or even if you dehydrate your own apples. It cores the apple, it peels the apple, and it slices. And if you're running a freeze dryer or if you're running a dehydrator, these thicknesses are all the same, and that's going to make them dry more uniformly. Initially, we decided to get it because the shelf life of food that is freeze-dried and put away properly and stored properly, you can expect a 25 to 30 year shelf life. Canning, depending upon what you're putting away, maybe 5 years on the outside edge is a good shelf life for some of the items. And we typically eat all of our canned stuff well before 5 years is up. But the thing that was really appealing to us is with freeze-dried food, you have almost no nutritional value that is lost. With pressure canning, either in a water bath canner or a pressure canner, you will get as much as, or even dehydrating, you will get as much as a 30% loss in the nutritional value because you're heating this stuff up. With freeze drying, I think I read that it was like a 2% loss in nutritional value through freeze drying. So absolutely wonderful. And the 25 to 30 year shelf life was very interesting as well. And forgive me for rambling here. The decision to go with buying a very expensive freeze dryer over just buying freeze-dried food and putting it away, it was a long decision. It was a lot of discussion that went into it, and ultimately we decided, because we grow so much of our own food, that being able to put away the food that we know where it comes from, we know what fertilizers have been used, we know that there hasn't been any herbicide that is used in the production of this food, we have more control over the food that we're putting up. And that was one of the big deciding factors in going ahead and purchasing the freeze dryer instead of just buying freeze-dried food. So what I've got here is my freeze-dry tray, and these go inside the freeze dryer, and at some point during this process I'll take you down and I'll show you the freeze dryer in the basement. These trays, a set of trays comes with the unit, and we have bought the silicone mat that you see in the bottom here, and it makes a world of difference in making it easier to take the food out of the tray once the freeze drying process is completed and getting it into the Mylar bags that we store it in. If we're doing short-term storage because we're going to eat them, as for example these will be snacks for the kids, I put them into jars, use a vacuum sealer to seal that jar up, and then I can put them on the shelf here in the pantry, and when it's time to get the snack out for the kids, just pull out the jar, take the lid off, and dish them out. These apples, we have done quite a few of them. The kids really like them. They're a good healthy treat. They're pretty easy. The preparation work to get it into the freeze dryer is pretty easy. So we've done several loads of these. And again, we're new to this. I don't have all the answers to the freeze dryer. I'm still learning a lot. So I'm going to be truthful with you. A lot of the stuff I just don't know yet. I have learned that by doing a single layer here, and all of these slices are a consistent thickness, that it does not take as long of a freeze-dry cycle to complete these. Now it does take 24 hours typically or more, and the length of the cycle time is going to be determined on the amount that you have in the trays. And my first load I doubled up, had 2 layers separated with wax paper. It took 2.5 days to complete, and the ice buildup inside of the machine was there was a lot of moisture in it. So I have since gone to just a single layer in here, and this cycle should be done with all 5 of these trays in about 24 hours. If I put more food in there, there's a lot more moisture in with the extra food, and it increases that cycle time. Alright, I've got a lot of jibber jabber upstairs during the preparation. You're probably tired of seeing me peel apples. This apple peeler, absolutely wonderful. I mentioned it earlier. They're inexpensive. They're about 20 bucks for a good one. There's a ton of them on Amazon. They all, well, not all of them. There are a bunch of them with hundreds and hundreds of fantastic reviews, and it makes this job of peeling, coring, and slicing so much easier. I will put a link in the description to the one that we use on Amazon if you're interested. And I'm going to shut this thing down, finish up these last 2 trays, and then I'll take you down and show you the process of starting the freeze dryer, and I will end it tomorrow when the cycle is complete and I take this stuff out. Initially I started this freeze dry process by doing the apples this way, but when I went to do my short-term storage in mason jars, it was a little difficult getting these into and out of the mason jar at this size. So these guys are going to be consumed immediately when it comes out of the freeze dryer. Anything that goes into my short-term storage and is going to be in a mason jar are going to be the slices that I have cut in half, and that just makes it a little bit easier at the end of this cycle to get it put away. Alright, that's it, and that's my last tray. So let me get this shut down and I'll move downstairs and get it set into the freeze dryer. If you look inside here, you can see the ice that's built up. This is all the water that was removed from my apples and my bananas. Alright, here's some apples, and when I'm checking this food, I'm checking to see if it's cold. If that food is cold, that means it has a spot in it that still has moisture, and it's not safe for food storage yet. There is a little bit of discoloration on these apples, but it's not bad. Oh my goodness, that's wonderful. Those are Honeycrisp there, and it does not change the taste in any fashion. You could use a citric juice on it, dip it in citric juice and water, whatever you prefer, but I really enjoy the natural taste of this food, and I don't do anything to it. Alright, there's my apples. Let me pull out some bananas here for you to see. Same thing with my bananas here. That tray's hot. There's a little bit of discoloration on those bananas, but it's not bad at all. And you can see how it powders in my hand there when I squeeze it. Hey cat, you're not supposed to be down here. This stuff is done and ready to go into Mylar bags. Okay, this is the last tray, and I'm doing this as a sample pack for somebody that I'm going to mail out this week. And I just wanted to talk real quick about how I put this food up. We do it for long-term storage, and we do long-term storage in these Mylar bags. And inside of every Mylar bag is a 300cc oxygen absorber. And we have an impulse sealer over here, and I will put 3 good seals on everything before I'm done. And of course here are apples, And bananas on this tray. This is the last tray out of the freeze dryer. And again, this is going out to Staff Sergeant B.A. and his family. And I'm going to include in there the Gala apples, a banana. These are Skittles. This is avocado. This is pretty crazy. I'm going to open that up and show it to you. And cherry tomatoes. And you're going to be impressed with those cherry tomatoes. These cherry tomatoes and other things like it, initially when you put it in your mouth, there's no taste. It's just kind of dry and yeah, it's kind of weird. But as the moisture inside of your mouth starts to wet that food as you break it up, the flavor starts to hit. It's like a little flavor bomb. It's pretty amazing how it tastes. I really, really enjoy it. My kids love these things. Anyway, 3 different ways we put them up. I'm getting sidetracked here. We do use the Mylar bags, as already shown you. We do use these jars here. I have a gallon jar, I have quart jars, and I have pint jars. And how much? Ideally, I don't want to store long-term stuff in the jars because light can get to it and light will cause these foods to break down. So I don't want to do that. Excuse my reach. I don't want to do that if I can get away with it. So everything you see in these jars here is a short-term storage, whether that's for our immediate consumption or I just did not have enough, or I just did not have enough food left over to fill a full Mylar bag. I'll stage it in a jar, wait for the next batch of that food type, and then fill up Mylar bags with that. These lids, I do use these food saver attachments to seal these back up. It simply attaches with a hose to my food saver. Removes all the air, and then it'll make it safe for short-term storage. Okay, let me get that out of the way. These are the cherry tomatoes, and things like this that have the skin on them, you have to break them. Either puncture the skin or cut it in half so that the water can be removed. If I were to just throw these cherry tomatoes in that freeze dryer whole with the skin unbroken, they wouldn't freeze dry properly. I think I'm going to overfill that bag if I don't pay attention. And the last thing that we use are these little food vac bags. And I have a leftover oxygen absorber in this one, but individual servings of the apples, for example, I made some for my wife today to take to lunch with her. And for short-term storage, just those bags, those food saver bags work fine. Anything that's long-term, we only put in here. Short-term, we use our jars primarily. And these avocados, let me open that and show you these avocados. These avocados are amazing. Let me break the vacuum. Oxygen absorber, and that is a freeze-dried avocado. And you just heard it snap. There's no moisture in that thing at all. It's really, really light. There's a couple for Staff Sergeant BA to try. And yeah, I'm going to be able to get some Skittles in that pack until it's still sitting. I'm wearing this food handler glove, and the first load that I did not handle it, and it was actually able, the food, after it was freeze dried, was able to absorb moisture that I had on my hand. And there's your Skittles. So I only handle the food after it's freeze dried now with one of these gloves on. I don't handle it with my bare hand. And yes, Staff Sergeant, I did scrub my hands. I was Navy. I know I wasn't a Marine like you, but I did learn in boot camp how to properly scrub my hands, so you're good. And that's it. That's a quick rundown on the freeze dryer. That's the process of putting it away. And you got to kind of see what some of the food looked like. And Staff Sergeant, this will be on the way in the next couple of days, and you can sample it and see what you think. These freeze dryers are a huge investment. They are. And they do take time to operate, to keep running, to get the food prepped, to put into the freeze dryer, and then when the freeze drying is done, it takes time to also put it away. If you don't have a lot of time on your hand, or if you have no time on your hand, this is not going to be a worthwhile investment for you, I'm afraid. You're going to spend a lot of money on it, and it's going to sit around and not get used. If you're considering one, those are food items. If you're considering one, that's something to think about. As always, thanks for watching. And if you have any questions for me, leave them in the comment section and we'll see about getting them answered for you. Thank you much.